There we go. So we're recording on Zoom here and on Instagram Live, and I'm Caitlin, one half of Grace and Flow, sitting here with Dayley, who is an acupuncturist in Vernon, BC. She's very active on her own Instagram, and she's been studying traditional Chinese medicine for how long, Dayley?
Oh gosh, I think I started my journey about 8 years ago now. I took a break in the middle and started my practice, and then went back to school and finished a doctorate in TCM. So the entire education has started probably about the last decade.
Oh wow, okay, so quite a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a haul.
So were you considered like an expert in the field, or?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone's honestly considered an expert when it comes to the mind and body. Everything is so individual. It's hard to make black and white statements about health and fitness. So I don't know. It's just a constant growth, which is part of what attracted me to this medicine, was that it keeps you on your toes. You always have to be learning something new if you want to stay on top of helping people and helping yourself. It's very interesting.
It is very interesting. And I think one of the things that, drew me to asking you to touch on this topic, which is how COVID-19 has impacted your mental health, is you are constantly a support via your Instagram stories, as far as little messages that you put up there, your meditations, even just when you get on your own Instagram story and, have a little chat to your audience. You're always so motivating and uplifting, and your accounts is one of the ones that I go to every single day just to see what you have to say. Seek you out.
Happy to hear that. That's so nice. Yeah, I really just love this field of mental fitness, and I call it spiritual weightlifting. More than anything in the world. I had my own transformations, and now I just want to share those things with the world.
Aw, I love that. So do you find that people reach out to you or have been reaching out to you during this pandemic as well, kind of seeking advice, or what kind of questions or concerns are coming up?
Yeah, that's why I was really excited to talk to you, babe, because everything that you wanted to talk about are the same questions that I've been receiving. Things about uncertainty, questions about how do we deal with our own depression and anxiety, how do we help people in our household, because we're with them 24/7 at this point for some of us. So we see it all the time. And I just think it's so prevalent. I've received so many messages. So this is a really good opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you said that one of the big things is, people are going through a wide range of emotions right now. Even myself, some days I feel really productive and positive and like everything's going to be okay. And then some days it's really low, and it can be hard to motivate yourself, and you just want to lay around and almost feel sorry for yourself. Or I know lots of people, are crying just out of nowhere because it's such a strange thing that we're all going through. So what sort of things do you think could help people or help family members or loved ones that you're with when they are going through a bit of a lull?
Yeah, really good question. This is so, I think, important to talk about, because seeing other people's emotions can be so friggin' hard. It's hard enough to see our own emotions. And when we see someone else going through it, especially people that we totally care about, our family members or our friends or close loved ones, a lot of us, we just don't know what to do. And I've seen this happen so many times, and I used to do this all the time. My number one go-to was to try to save them, was to try to help people feel better, right? It comes from a really positive place where you just love them so much. You want to see them happy. You want to see them feeling good. But at the same time, it can be really, really beneficial to understand that when we do come into a situation where someone's not feeling well, someone might be depressed or crying or having a hard time, trying to fix them is maybe not the same thing as supporting them.
Right.
Sometimes what can happen is that people automatically feel that because this person's telling me how I can be happy, how I can be better, they start to make the assumption and judgment on themselves that here and now, in my sadness, in my depression, in my anxiety, I'm not enough. I can't experience this, and because I'm experiencing this, there's something wrong with me. Do you know what I'm saying? This is so common. This happens all the time.
I totally understand, yes.
This happens all the time. Sorry?
Well, and it can be hard to be, if you're in one space or you're having a bad day and the person you're living with is in a different space and they're having a good day, I can imagine that it would be really hard to not beat yourself up, or again, then you fall into the comparison of like, well, I need to be doing what they're doing, or why am I feeling this way? And rather than, like you said, just accepting like, this is where you're at, this is how I feel.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's two ways that I think you can approach it with other people, especially if you're trying to help someone else out, is to recognize what they're going from an objective perspective, not a subjective. So oftentimes we'll see someone, I don't know, curled up on the couch and not doing much, or going to the fridge 10 times a day, and that's one of their go-to stress behaviors or something like this. And yes, our go-to reaction is to say, hey, what's going on? You're really stressed out today. When really for them, they're not actually experiencing stress. They don't even recognize that they're in that stressful state. So it can be pretty triggering and kind of catalyzing to their stress. So one of the approaches I really like to take is look for an objective thing about the situation and approach them from there. So an objective thing versus subjective thing can look like, you see someone pacing around the kitchen, for example. And in your mind, you're making an assumption, a subjective assumption that they're feeling really anxious or they're really sad. So instead of saying those things, why are you so sad? Why are you so anxious? Because again, that can be super triggering. Yeah. One of the best things you can do is go to the objectives and say, hey, I've noticed that you're pacing around. Is there anything going on? So being more curious and inquiring with people is so beneficial compared to going in and making an assumption about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's rather just asking the person how they're doing, what they're feeling, rather than labeling, like, this is how you're feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing what happens. And also, again, going into the situation, not trying to change them, not trying to fix them, but opening it up to more questioning them. Like, what can I do? How can I show up for you? And asking simple things. Would you like to go for a walk? Would you like to chat? Would you like me to bring you a tea? Like little things like that. It can go a really long way, and it opens up the conversation and just the energy in general for things to start moving, for the emotion to start moving, instead of making an assumption and kind of boxing them in by labeling them. Yeah, it's really powerful when you do those things. It's amazing.
I find going outside and going for a walk is one thing that I have been trying to do myself, especially when I am having a low day as well. And I find that just, fresh air is so powerful. Just like being in nature, like looking at the green leaves and just like hearing your footsteps on the pavement or wherever you are, the wind. As much as there are days where I don't even want to go outside, just if you can force yourself to for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and just look around. I mean, nature is so beautiful, and it just reminds us that no matter what's going on right now in the world, like, you're okay, you're here right now. Kind of dialing it back to the basics, like, look at this simple flower, or look at this beautiful sunset, like, all is good in right here, right now.
Amazing. Do you know what that practice is? It's the practice of presence. That's exactly what it is. And it's everything that I teach, because it really is the pathway out of all kinds of stress and all kinds of suffering. No matter what your stress and suffering look like, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, frustration, grief, confusion, bringing yourself to the present moment is where you can find your power and your freedom. So nature is an amazing example for that. I love it.
Yes. I noticed that you do talk a lot about presence on your Instagram too. And I know that you try and bring yourself into the present moment, like first thing in the day, before you get started with anything else. So I know you've done just like sitting in silence, or you offer a meditation. Are there any other things that you can think of that could maybe help people that aren't as familiar with this type of practice, like you or I may be, to help just get them started in bringing themselves to the present moment?
The first thing is actually kind of an avoidance thing. It's to let go of your habit of checking your phone, checking your social media, getting on your computer, or anything else that's going to pick up your mind and draw you into all the stressors of your life, draw you into work or relationships or whatever else. So the first thing I would recommend is to avoid those things for the first 5 or 10 minutes of your day. That alone can be huge. Even if you're just going to go make a coffee, even if you're just going to go make a tea or walk outside and check in and take a big breath of fresh air, that alone will make a big difference if you let yourself put those things aside. So that's actually even a good place to start. As you mentioned, another place I would recommend people start is looking for some kind of mindfulness meditation, like a 5-minute practice. That's what I usually recommend for people, where they can do something guided, where they have some recording or something on YouTube that guides their attention into their body or into their breath or into the sounds in their environment or something like that, because that's a really good beginning training ground for your focus and for your presence. So I actually have one on my Instagram bio. If you guys want to go check that out, there's a downloadable link. It's only 5 minutes and it's free. So check that out, download it, and start to practice it.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I want to caveat that with something that this is not always easy. Like, being present is something that none of us are trained to do for the most part. Usually we go to these practices because we're stressed and anxious and have addictions and all kinds of things, and we're forced in that direction to find some kind of relief. So it's really difficult, and you might have some resistance in the beginning, but know that that's part of the practice. Okay, so I call it, again, spiritual weightlifting. Like, if you go to the gym, for example, you can't expect yourself to be able to deadlift X amount of pounds right on day one, right? Just because it's possible, it doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable and you're going to be able to do it. It's a step-by-step process. So allow yourself to sit in discomfort, even if it's difficult. It doesn't have to feel good. And that's the mistake I made, and that's why I avoided meditation and yoga for years, is because I thought it was supposed to feel good. It doesn't always feel good, but the more you can sit in that discomfort, the more powerful you'll get with your practice of awareness and focus, and you'll start to shift those stresses. You'll start to shift your anxiety and find power and freedom, and it's amazing. So work through the discomfort, you guys, and allow yourself to start building a practice.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why it's called a practice, right? Because it's not just like, boom, you got it. You're right here, right now. These practices in your mind, it's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym and working it out. It's the same thing using your mind and your breath work as well too.
Exactly.
One of the things that you mentioned was about checking your phone first thing in the morning. I think a lot of people know now, like, not the greatest thing for you. With all the spare time that we all have right now, it's hard not to be like scrolling social media all the time, right? And checking in like what your friends are doing, what other people are doing during their lockdown, during their quarantine, or their, the isolation. I find a lot of pressure from social media too. A lot of people are using this time to, get their bikini bodies ready, and they're learning new skills, or they're going back to school, or they're training for marathons and all this stuff. And where I feel that way some days too, some days it can be really hard. Like, you're not doing enough. You're not right up there with your peers, and you're not being a new vegan chef and all of this. So
Did you just say a new vegan chef?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. I feel you.
Yeah. Like, it's okay if you're getting takeout. I mean, support local. You do you.
Yeah, exactly.
But about the pressures of just not feeling enough, or not like you're using this time wisely. What are your thoughts on that, Dayley?
Yeah, there's a couple different things to think about here. One is to remember that what you see is not what you actually get, because what everyone is doing on the surface, that actually doesn't matter in life. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if someone has a fit bikini bod and they've got a 6-pack abs and they're the top chef in your community, or whatever else people are achieving at this time. What matters is the intention. And what most people do is they try to get something like abs, like running a marathon, or they try to achieve a goal in order to feel good. So that entire process that we're viewing as success is actually their process of personal disempowerment. This is so important. What we see other people doing that looks like success, so someone that wins a big award for their big business. Well, if you look behind the scenes, the way they got there was through pressuring themselves with negative thoughts, by forcing themselves to do things because they just had to win, because their anxiety and stress wouldn't let them fail. That's not a sustainable, powerful way to live. In fact, that's disempowerment. But we see the awards or the surface body or the result, and we judge it as successful. But again, if the process of that person was coming from a place of, I need this out here in order for me to feel good in here, that person is more disempowered now with all their medals and all their successes than they were in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
It does. I think it's a powerful message for people to hear, though, because I mean, that's not the regular assumption. You think, you know, this person has all these things or looks a certain way, or what they're portraying on social media, they must be so happy. They got it figured out. You know, they have a plan.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that was really good what you just said too, Caitlin, is recognizing also that, are we gauging ourselves based on truth, or are we gauging our worthiness and experience of happiness or not happiness based on assumptions? Because most of us don't even recognize that when we see that person with a six-pack or see that person with a really successful business, we assume that they're happy. We assume that everything in their life is perfect, when really we have no clue. And most people's lives are not perfect. People are not happy. People are completely dissatisfied no matter how much they do, no matter how much they achieve, how successful they are. They're not happy, but our minds are making that assumption, and we're creating our experience based on those assumptions. So we have to be, I think, really cautious about recognizing that and slowing down and tuning into the thoughts and stories that we're having that say, yes, I'm judging myself against this person who just won this business award or who got this six-pack of abs. What is my mind telling me about that? My mind's telling me that they're really happy and that they're really worthy of love and tons of friends and all this acknowledgement, and I'm not, because I don't have that, right? So those assumptions, we really have to question them. And I always say to my clients and my friends, look for the truth. Recognize what's stressing you out, and then look for the truth in those beliefs. And often we find a lot of freedom in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. I think it's a hard thing to do, to break some of that old behavior and that old patterning, to try and change the way you think when you see those type of things or have those people in your friend group. And but in turn, it will help change the way you think about yourself too.
Exactly. The other thing I do too, especially, there's so much competition amongst women, so much, it's just absolutely crushing our sisterhood, you guys. We need each other. We're part of each other. We're all connected. And a lot of us live from this framework of thinking that their win is my loss. Their gain is my deficiency. And it's 100% not the truth. That is a mental structure. It's not the truth. So if we can start to live from a place of where we see someone else's win, and we recognize our resistance, we recognize the tension that starts to be created in ourselves, and we soften and remind ourselves. I use affirmations a lot. Soften and remind myself, this tension is my fear that I'm not enough. This tension is my fear that I don't measure up, therefore I'm not worthy. But that's a lie. It's a pattern of belief. It's a lie. So as soon as I can remember that, I allow myself to soften and open, and then take action to solidify the belief that you're connected and you're just as worthy. So then I'd go out and actually congratulate that woman, for example, on her accolades, and feel connected to it and really tune into the energy of being happy for their happiness. That's a big one for me. Happy for their happiness. I've practiced that. So that is an emotional state you can get into if you recognize that you're in competition mindset. Recognize the tension, recognize the fear around that kind of belief structure. Allow yourself to soften and open and tune into happy for their happiness, and it will start to be your reality. It's amazing. I've completely transformed my jealousy, my competition, and everything. I've made more friends in the last 2 years than ever. Like, it's a practice though. So it doesn't feel comfortable, but try it.
Well, I think like one of the things that Jess and I really believe in behind Grace and Flow too is collaboration over competition. And like, we are in the business of women, right? And we know so many, and we're all doing so much and trying to just succeed and connect with one another. And I find that once you realize that every woman's win is yours as well, once you can start seeing it that way, as her win is actually a win for me, because we are all in this together. We're all connected. We're all go through lots of the same struggles in our lives. And if we could only just learn to lean on each other a little more and celebrate our successes a little more together and just be there, then I mean, imagine what could happen.
Exactly.
So I mean, I love that, finding happy in the happiness for others and then yourself as well.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
I love that. Yeah. So again, it's those two pieces, because most people only do number one, right? Even they can recognize, okay, collaboration over competition, like you said, or their win is also my win. We can intellectually know that, but sometimes that doesn't always translate to feeling calm and connected at the same time. Like, what the hell? Like, I understand it. I can see it. Why don't I feel good? Why don't I feel grounded? Why don't I feel that? It's because we actually have to allow ourselves to open up to it. And that's actually what requires a lot of courage, because we're bracing against our fears. And even if our mind understands that the fear has no place, and that opening up and sharing that person's win is actually going to be beneficial for everybody, our bodies don't do it until we allow ourselves to do it. So the second part of that, the embodiment piece, allowing ourselves to feel that truth, not just think it, can transform everything.
Amazing. If anyone has any questions at all too, just go ahead and pop them into the Instagram live chat and we can get to those later. Let's chat about how people are feeling about returning to work now that BC has issued their opening up plan through phases. I know some people are super excited and ready to get going, and some people are still a little hesitant and feeling maybe this isn't the right thing, or maybe worried about, you know, another wave of this happening. What's your audience take on that lately?
I haven't actually heard too much feedback on how people are feeling going back to work. I haven't had any specific questions about that. So that's what I was curious about asking you, actually. Have you heard that people are afraid of going back to work and what their specific fears are?
Yeah, I think people are just questioning whether it's the right move to open up the economy again right now, because they're afraid of that contact, and still just unsure of the government and their plan, and whether they're choosing their country's safety over the country's economy. Right. And I think that's another thing that differs day to day too. Like, you could be feeling one way one day and then the other day. So I think there's a lot of mixed reviews I've just been seeing online and in different threads and things like that.
My response to this would be, and again, I haven't had any experience with this or conversations around this just yet, but my recommendation would be to tune in. Write it out, not just tune in and ask yourself how you're feeling and what's going on for you, but write it out, because you get so much clarity when you write things down and recognize, okay, I'm feeling both ways. I'm feeling excited to go back to work, but also I'm afraid. Well, what are my fears? Are these justified fears, and are they even my own? Or is my excitement and my desire to go back to work even my own? Or am I trying to put on that face because everyone in my small circle is excited and they want to go back to work, so I feel like that's how I should feel? So I think it's important to really slow down, take out a journal and write some of these things down, where you get crystal clarity on your thoughts, and then you go through each thought as a checklist and say, is this mine or is this someone else's? Is this mine or is this someone else's? And then you actually put importance on each one, like level them 1 to 10 and say, really important and a non-negotiable, and this doesn't really matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I encourage anyone that maybe has started journaling during this time, please continue with it. And if you haven't, it's not too late to pick up a journal, because it's such a powerful practice to have in your life as well. Like, just the relief that you can feel from getting your thoughts down on paper. It's very therapeutic and very easy to do alone at home.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, are afraid of journaling. And I've got clients that are like, oh, Day, like, don't make me do that. I don't even know what to say. I hate writing. I'm not creative. It doesn't have to be creative. You don't have to even write paragraphs. You don't even have to write sentences. You can literally write feeling scared, feeling excited, and then you just go back and analyze it, and you'll have a few more words. Okay, feeling scared, why? Because I don't want to get sick, or because of my mother's immune system, or whatever, and you'll just start adding on and get a lot more clarity. But a lot of people, I think, resist it because they think it has to be like, dear diary, I did this today and this is what's happening and I know all the answers and I can see this, and like, it doesn't have to be like that at all. Like, no. Literally just words. Mad, angry, frustrated. Okay, perfect. That section is done. Now, what do these things mean to me at this time? Is this relevant, and why is this relevant? Yeah, so that kind of thing.
Exactly. I know for myself, I've been so fired up before where I'm just like pen to paper, scribbling so fast, very illegible writing, but you know,
Exactly.
then it's like, and it's out.
Yes, exactly. It makes a big difference to write things out. People are like, oh no, I can do this in my head. It's fine, but it's so different. You get so much more clarity when you put pen to paper and you can see it in front of you. We have, I forget how many millions of thoughts every single day. So the mind will only pay attention to the ones that you actually put focus on, and putting focus on means writing them out. So really helpful.
Exactly. So Dayley, you have a program that you just released, Freedom to Fear, right? Do you want to chat a little bit about that?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, girl. It's called Fear to Freedom. It's a 90-day program, online program. It's not self-paced though. There's a coaching piece to this program as well, where we do a lot of one-on-one work. So there's a lot of accountability, which is what I needed in my transformation, and I know a lot of other people struggle with as well. So throughout this 90-day program, you learn a lot about breaking down the mind. You learn a lot about breaking down your emotions, breaking down your belief structures, and learning how to step into inner peace, learning how to step into your power and start to reclaim your life, not based on chance, not based on how you were conditioned in life, not based on your parents' beliefs or your friends' beliefs growing up, not based on the anxiety you've experienced over the last 10 years that you're afraid is going to now condition the next 10 years of your life. You start to look at that and start to dismantle it and dissolve it, so you can live a life based on choice, where you actually have true power in your life. So I'm really excited about it. It's all the steps that I've learned myself and taken myself through to overcome a really intense eating disorder and addiction that I had for 10 years, and it just helped me rewire my entire existence. And I feel more free, happy, and grounded than I ever have in my life. So I'm hoping to share that with other people.
That's amazing. It sounds really powerful, and I mean, you can just tell by watching you online too that you seem very happy and free and just comfortable in your own skin now, and I'm very happy for you. And you know, we could talk about this stuff forever.
I could, for sure.
Yeah, but I just want to thank you so much for hopping on this little chat with me. And if you guys aren't following Dayley on Instagram, please check her out at Dayley Layne. Is that right?
That's right.
Perfect. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
well,
and if you guys have any questions, I'm always open for direct messaging. That's one of my favorite things, is getting to know people and answering questions on some of the content that I go through in life. So get at me.
Love it. Well, I hope to see you really soon again sometime,
Yeah,
Dayley.
you too, babe.
And take care.
Thanks so much, you guys. Thanks, Grace and Flo. Love you guys. Chat later.
Love you. Bye.